the outside the expo, so that we can come up with a meaningful solution to meet all the challenges we have, whether it's in the diaspora or on the ground in the African continent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Steve. Okay, Dr. Turufena, we lost Martin, so we are waiting for him to come back. But if you expound a little bit more on environment sustainability, what do you think the African governments should encourage, especially the farmers, our farmers who are on the ground, ensuring that they produce enough food to feed themselves? What do you think the government actually should be doing right now? Especially when I take you back to our country in Kenya, whereby the deputy president was saying that farmers should start planting food in the forest. So I don't know, maybe you'll expound a little bit on that aspect.
Thank you. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. The question of the environment actually and the food production, if I can expound on it, we are facing climate change. And right now, for us to be food sufficient, African governments must embrace what we call climate smart agriculture. We have to find a way of not depending on rain for our food production, because rain would fail you. And that's what we have said, because rain seasons have changed. So what we would like to see, especially in the upcoming Expo, and I want to tell you, Engineer Kebwata, we have to give great credit to Dr. Shuri for coming up, the president of OFIC, for coming up with this idea of OFIC Expo. And even OFIC as an umbrella organization for bringing organizations together, because we share ideas. We bring scientists together, climate science people and businesses that will come and discuss how can we make Africa food sufficient? How can we learn from each other? What we see, for example, if I can give an example of Kenya, we are facing a food crisis in the northern region, Turkana. People are dying, Pokot people are dying. And then when you go down to Kisii, where we have rain, food is rotting, and the central Kenya, food is rotting in the farms because they don't have access to market. So how can we reconcile the two, where some regions have an abundance of food and some regions don't have? How can we open up? So Expo is giving us a chance to be able to connect these ideas. And I want to tell you that, like for example, Kenya, we have an opportunity. We have good land whereby we can use the best technology that we have so that we can produce enough food. So this Expo is going to be a learning opportunity for us to connect with other bigger organizations that are in the food space. For example, the Africa Green Revolution. I remember attending one of their expos, and we want to model what they're doing and partner with them to change things. And during the expo, we are going to have what we call a deal room. When you come and you hear the ideas, you go to the deal room and seal the deal. And you are making a business, you are expanding, because we want to change how things are done. And I think the governments have an opportunity to exploit the expertise of the diaspora population to develop. If I can give one example, Kenya's parastatals have the largest land, arable land. Talk about Kenya prisons around the committee area. They have thousands of acres of land. University of Nairobi, thousands of acres of land. Kenya Railways. How can we find investors in the US from the diaspora who want to go in and utilize that land using technology, produce plant of maize that can feed people, produce potatoes, produce tomatoes, and we have a food sufficient Kenya and also East Africa. The same, we can go to Congo, the same, we can go to Tanzania. Our brother Steve from Zanzibar, you know, how can we go there and use technology to produce food and stop depending on the rudimental, type of agriculture that relied on rain, because now things have changed. Thank you so much to you, Engineer Kifuato. I'll leave it there for my colleagues to add.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Mr. Martin Anyoli, for the network issue there. You are back. Thank you very much. So you've actually heard what our sister has actually said about the food security and how we even need to request or to ensure that our diaspora, people who have got at least some coins, can go back and then can invest in food production. So from your point of view, what do we really need to ensure that this is easily done? I mean, there is a well-connected network from the diaspora and from the African government, so that the diaspora can be given a chance to ensure that they can also play a critical role in ensuring that we have enough food to feed the people, and some even for export. And don't forget to mention the Gulana Kulanu failed project back in the coastal province. So, as an expert in environmental science, can you now connect the dots and let's hear, let's try our people to listen, and hear your expertise, your advice on them. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, engineer. We've been having some sound tech issues, but we're fighting on. We're gonna make it. So, as a government and business leaders, we have to hold them accountable to the net zero goals that we have for our country, for Africa, in sustaining development and sustaining the environment. So business leaders should stop thinking about sustainability as a cost, but rather as a value driver. So, for instance, if a business transforms its work output or its products into more reliable or more recyclable products, in the long run, it is going to help our environment and also secure a future for our future generations in the same way. So, like I just mentioned, I was working with the Kenya Energy and Environment Organizations who dealt with alternative sources of energy. So, for instance, we have issues in the Machakos, in the Kitui area, and also maybe in the western area where people are deforesting the land for charcoal or for furniture. They have no other sources of energy. That's why they're doing this. So, what can the government and our businesses provide these people with alternatives to do that? So, it's technologies like what we had, the energy GECO that Kengo was advertising to the people, where you use less energy using even cow dung as charcoal rather than the chopping down trees, and that in turn reduces how much people are going to deforest. So one thing about our forests, which is most important that people do not understand, they assume that okay, yeah, we got to chop them down at one time anyway, but that's the reason why we have to educate. The trees are actual carbon magnets. They trap the carbon dioxide that's emitted and converts it to oxygen. But as we continue to degrade and cut down these trees, we lose that ability for this environment to produce enough oxygen, enough vegetation to absorb all this carbon dioxide that's put out there. Why don't we be as a government enforce forestation and also combine it with what now they're calling carbon credits. This carbon credits where countries in the Western areas that already over degraded the environment can pay us as a country, as Kenya, to forest our land and plant more trees, and they will pay us the cost of maintaining and having these trees there. So that creates a business for our people, but at the same time saves the environment. So we want to showcase in this expo that these are the alternatives that are out there besides other alternatives like solar energy, biogas, hydro. So there's a lot of alternatives. What are these alternatives? Because when you tell people to live sustainably, what are the viable alternatives that you giving them? Otherwise, they will not listen to you. So this is the aim of this expo: is to educate and to bring forth, showcase all these other new technologies that can help us not just as Kenya, not just as Africa, but the whole world. The West has an interest in our resources. So we need to capitalize on that. Thank you, Bona Engineer.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you for highlighting that statement pretty well, and it sounds pretty very astounding. Whereby we will definitely have to see how we move forward as a government, then we educate our people to really understand how sustainability can ensure that we get enough food production to feed our people and also to do some export. Now, Mr. Steve Kisanga, we are back to you right now. How has your organization or your business helped the diaspora to ensure that they start businesses back in Zanzibar? Which channels have you really utilized or used to ensure that our people or the diaspora from the US or from Europe have actually had some businesses started, or we have had business startups with Africa? Go ahead, Mr. Steve.
Thank you, engineer. So let me start by saying we live in a globalization, right, era. Um, so with globalization eras, we've seen that there is a movement of people has become more substantial in terms of people moving back and forth or from different uh, uh, locations. We've seen more and more people from the continent of Africa moving to other parts of the world um, and increase that number of diaspora. And also, we've seen knowledge or ideas moving back and forth, right, between the continent of Africa and other parts of the world. And also, we've seen capital. So these are the funds. So a combination of those three things is what the platform will do in order to enhance or capitalize on that movement of those three things that I've mentioned. So the question of ability, are diasporans or the people from diaspora, are they able, do they have a capability to fully take advantage of this, the environment that we are with the globalization era? Also, are they motivated to do so, such as, participating in trade or investment in the continent? And the other thing is that the attitude. Do they have that positive attitude to do better, not just to participate? So a combination of those three things can be shared, or the idea can be shared through platforms. And the platform is what the expo will be, because you're meeting, you're having people meeting under one roof and be able to learn from each other. That's the best thing we can do. Learn from each other. Because if you do alone, it's probably the impact will be very minimal. But if we, as diasporans, we meet, we share, we embrace the idea of going to invest in the continent. If we do it together in large number, the impact will be big. Whether it's in the agriculture, in tourism, in manufacture, in any type of sector or industry in a continent, in order for people to move forward. It's all about ideas. If we can share ideas, then I don't know. And the other thing is just to open up. I think most of our African governments should have started maybe to come somehow kind of realize that the importance of the diaspora, because diasporas have the capability, right? You talk about in terms of the disposable income, the power of the currency that they're holding. It can have an impact in a continent. So it's just a matter of engaging, and that's what we're here to emphasize the importance of attending the Investor Expo 2023, May 5 to 7. There'll be more to gain. And for my people in Zanzibar, I would like maybe to say that in Swahili. Karibuni sana ndugu wote wa visiwa vya Zanzibar na wengine wa Tanzania bara katika onyesho hili kubwa la uwekezaji ambalo litakuwa linafanyika katika mji wa Washington DC kuanzia Mei 5 mpaka Mei 7, na mandhari yake ni uwekezaji, na huo ndio njia moja ya kuweza kutokomeza umaskini katika kisiwa chetu cha Zanzibar na vile vile katika Tanzania bara. Kwa hiyo karibuni wote tujumuike. Itakuwa takriban siku 3, lakini hizo siku 3 zitakuwa ni siku ambazo tutafanikisha malengo yetu ya kuweza kubadilishana mawaidha na mawazo ili tuweze kuendelea kujikwamua katika swala la kukomboa watu kutoka kwenye umaskini. So that's all I would like to say. That was the message to my people in Zanzibar, because you got to deliver the message in the language they understand.
Yes.
You made Dr. Choti feel so at home. So Dr. Choti, you also take Kiswahili. I mean, go ahead. It's as if there's something you really wanted Bwana Steve. Hey, me, I'm poor in Swahili.
I can't compare with Steve Swahili. It makes me feel home, and it's deep, it's deep. But what I can say in this, if I can give a message at this expo, actually, to say that this is an opportunity for us to learn. The Bible says, people perish for lack of knowledge, and we don't want our people to perish for lack of knowledge. We have to come together and share knowledge. And for example, I want to say that diaspora people are doing great things that we don't know, and most of the things go unnoticed. And I want to highlight a few examples of the diaspora people that I've met through OVC that are doing great things, and they are unnoticed, but we want to come and learn from them during the expo. For example, I can share the example of Professor Ndiangui, a professor at Florida Gulf Coast University. He has a great program whereby he brings students from Kenya who have done education. They specialize in math, science, and English. They come to teach in a school district in Florida at the exchange for a master's program. That's a great idea. We can talk about the Kenya Airlift program that brings master's students to come and study in the US, and they get access to loans. We talk about other diaspora members. For example, our sister who is in charge of marketing, Lily Ongaki, and her husband, Dr. Jacob Ongaki, they are leading a Grand Granite Circle that is helping Kenyans to invest back home in land and other areas. They will come and present and sell the idea so that people can register with that circle, save, and go and invest in Kenya. we talk about, for example, another person that I've met through OVC is Dr. Ngwenyi, who has a cultural diaspora cultural diplomacy program. And that one intersects very well with AfriThrive mentoring program. We're looking at how can we work together with the cultural diplomacy program to connect diaspora children with Kenya and Kenyan children with the diaspora, to have an exchange program where they can learn from each other and develop. And during the OVC platform, I also met a gentleman, Alex Karundo, who is a super guy in business. When we talk about tracking and warehousing, we were listening to the CS, the Kenyan CS in charge of trade and in Kenya, is Honorable Kuria, talking about bringing warehouses whereby they can bring goods here so that we can get AfriThrive. We serve culturally appropriate food. We are serving unga uji, we are serving unga wimbi, so that people who have access, especially we have populations that are getting, they are getting diabetes and they can't eat the regular food, they can cook unga uji. And we have been getting the unga uji from Geoffrey Kinyanjui of the CEO of African Flavors. So if we get this, we are getting the supply of wimbi and ugali from him, a large forum from him, where we serve about 700 families with unga uji per week. They are getting it. So if we get this warehouse built, especially in Baltimore, where we have the seaport, then Mr. Kinyanjui will get unga easily and sell it to AfriThrive, and we are circling money, and the money is going back to Kenya. So I'm talking about powerful people who are doing service things. As I mentioned, Professor Ndiangui, as we connected, we have 3 girls who are coming from very humble backgrounds in Kenya. And these girls scored first class in their universities in science subjects. We have already connected with Professor Ndiangui to work with them and see that these girls get the scholarship to come and study. What else can we do as diaspora? It's for us all to get together. Whoever is doing something, bring it on the table, let's share. And if you have an idea, bring it. If you don't have an idea, come and listen. In the deal room, you learn ideas and you run with it and do something. Because as Martin Luther King says, I like Martin Luther King Jr., he's big on public service, and that's dear to me. He asks, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Diaspora, what are you doing for your motherland continent? What are we giving back? Because the motherland gave all. It educated us. We were airlifted to come to the North America, the richest continent we have right now. What resources are we getting from here to take back home to ensure no child goes hungry, no child is left outside with no school fees, nobody's missing a house or a shelter to sleep in? And that's how we want to develop, because we have a lot of people, a population of young people unemployed in Africa. How can the diaspora invest in Africa so that they can create jobs for those young people who are there, and the economy grows? And that's how we can help the government solve it, because the governments can't do it all by themselves. But if we work hand in hand, diaspora, my call is even to the government, open up, give diaspora members opportunities to invest back and take care of their investments, because we have experiences of diasporas who have been conned of their investments. We want safety. We want the government to enact laws that protect diaspora investments. And if our investments are protected, we have, and I think that's how we can change things. For me and the rest that I've encountered in OVC, we have the same vision, the dream of making Africa a first world, because that's what we are supposed to be. Thank you. Back to you, Engineer Kebwata.
Thank you very much, Dr. Trufena, for expounding more on the aspects of what OVC actually wants to achieve. And how it also wants to accommodate as many organizations as possible. So, Mr. Martin, on the same note, what do you think we should do as per Dr. Choti's advice? Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
Good engineer. Actually, Ms. Choti, Dr. Choti, hit the nail on the head. Yes. For instance, how can we get businesses in Kenya investing in businesses in the diaspora, and vice versa? For example, I have an example here in Florida. We have a coffee shop owned by an African, owned by a Kenyan, and what they do is they sell organic coffee in their shop. And this organic coffee comes from villages in Kenya, grown by the villagers themselves, not by an outsourced company, grown by the people in the village. And they buy this coffee and advertise it here as an organic coffee. And it has been doing great, fantastic, over 5 years I'd say 10 years in business because of that. And they're solely getting all that coffee from Kenya. Now, this is an example of how a businessman in the diaspora can benefit people on the grassroots by buying and supporting local initiatives, especially organic. Organic is a big, big, big issue now in the US, in the diaspora, and even now in Kenya. People want clean food. We know that Kenya and other African countries have the most fertile land in the world, and we grow a lot of food. We can capitalize on this from the diaspora, from the local grassroots, and start supporting each other. Grow avocados, grow other foods that people want here in America that are organic. And we know we don't use fertilizers as much as everywhere else in the world. But we are letting foreign companies to come back in there and use our land for commercial agriculture, cash crops. When we can do it ourselves, use diaspora help to support this kind of initiatives. Like I talked about the Kujulu Komongo village reclaiming whole sand harvesting site and turning it into a tourist attraction. This is a resort now, but the local people are benefiting, and we need to start attacking poverty in the rural areas, because that's where all these problems are coming from. People are poorer in the village. 60% in Kenya of the 16% of the population comes from the rural areas. These are the most poor people we have in Kenya. So if we can start helping to supporting such initiatives, which still provides income for the people down there and also provides a business for people in the diaspora. So let's encourage exchange of business and encourage business people how they can really benefit from the locals and the rural areas by supporting organic and grassroots initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. That is also astounding. I mean, that is amazing. Now, because of time, we are now going to have at least a 2-minute, maximum of 2-minute wrap up, so that at least we can also expound more on on the Expo. But before before that round goes, we also need to give Mr. Steve his part. I mean, we also need to give him, make sure that he actually has his cake. We don't actually want to ensure that we don't really want to make Dr. Trufena, Mr. Martin, Anyoli, both of them are Kenyans. They might have taken a bigger share. So we want Mr. Steve also to at least have a quarter of that time. Yes. So, Mr. Steve, let's talk about the banking. You know, this is an area whereby the African diaspora has not really gone deeper and tried its level best to ensure that at least it has a piece. I mean, it has something to put on the table, especially even if they are not starting banks in Africa, but banks in the US. Recently, we've really tried our level best to try to compete with Wave. You know, most of you have actually used Wave. Wave send money to Africa. So there are a couple of apps coming up. I don't want to mention their names because maybe they have not actually come forward to request our for us to put them out there. For now, we just say there are other African initiated send money apps to Africa. But what about the banks? Well, we really need to ensure at least our people also own banks, not only in diaspora but also back in Africa. Go ahead, Bwana Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Engineer. So here we're talking about funds, right? Because I mentioned people move, ideas move, or knowledge move around, and as well as the funds or capital. So there's so many ways to come up with the capital. I think we have to think the globalization is to some extent that paradigm is shift, right? Where the capital is, because we used to think about capital is only coming from the West. But now capital is everywhere sporadically, right? So it's just what we need to do. That's my own perspective, is just to embrace the idea of platform economy. So platform economy is uh, maybe for those who are aware in the Western, you understand, okay, you want to get transportation, there's ride sharing like Uber and all that stuff, right? So same thing when you want to order food, there's, Grubhub and that kind of platform. Okay, so the same thing with the capital. If you could have a diaspora platform to move around capital, where the stakeholder, all those people that need capital, and those people can be able to provide capital, whether it's a private equity, should be in. Even the government should also be inside that platform, so that the money can be moving freely across the continent of Africa and also in and out of Africa. And that requires a policy that can be embraced by all 54 nations in Africa, right? So capital can be moving around. Okay, you're in Kenya, you could move a capital from Namibia to Kenya to Ghana, back to Zanzibar, or vice versa. Okay, so that's my own perspective. That it's lacking. I know Kenyan community has done so well with being able to mobilize themselves in the diaspora with the SACCOs, right? So I would encourage other diasporas, right, to kind of replicate the same concept, right? So that we could have crowdfunding or funds that have been raised and go to where places that are open up in Africa, such as Zanzibar. Zanzibar is wide open. Foreigners can own homes now today. There's like 30% of the investors in Zanzibar are Kenyans are buying homes, and that's where you want to be because it's just sunny, it's beautiful. Comparable to like Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, with the white sands and turquoise water, peaceful. It's just a place to be, and that's what we're going to be showcasing in this Investor Expo, to show you what is available there. CPS Diaspora or cpsdiaspora.com is the place where you can go and get that information. But we want you to be there. We want everybody who can spare some time, those 3 days, to be there and to learn, because the future is ours. So I know I'm taking time, but just 1 minute, because I've got a message from people from West Africa. They are saying, "Where's West Africa in this? Is this just East Africa?" But I would say this is for every African diaspora, and I would like to say this in French because most of those people who understand, they understand French. So, bienvenue à tous, mes amis francophones, à l'exposition sur l'investissement. Sera grand événement aura lieu du 5 au 7 mai cette année à Washington, D.C. Merci d'être présent et démarrer vos amis. Vraiment, c'est une plateforme pour partager des idées et des connaissances. Bienvenue à tous. On va partager les lignes pour s'inscrire et plus information. Bienvenue à tous. So that's the language I would like to say, because most of the West Africans, they speak French, and we want to embrace, we want to bring everybody. This is for Africa. No matter what language you speak, this is for Africa. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Nyoli, you also speak now German, no problem. Go ahead and wrap it up, and then wrap it also with German. Go ahead.
German, I can't beat what Dr. Steve did, but I will say in Swahili, tunataka vijana kutoka nyumbani wakuje huku, because 90%, almost 80% ni youth in Africa, in Kenya. Tunataka hawa vijana wakuje na hizo new ideas wako nazo. Hapa ndio wanaweza kuja kwa hii expo to showcase what they have. Alafu watu hapa diaspora wanaweza ona na wa support. So kujeni na all your ideas, all your new innovations mko nazo, business ideas, we will support you from the diaspora, because we are looking for somewhere where we can put this money. And so we will be attending. Hawa watu wanaishi hapa America, wanaishi Europe, watakuja kwa hii expo kutafuta ideas on how wanaweza invest huko nyumbani. So hizo ndio vitu tunataka mulete so that we can all benefit. Asante sana bwana engineer, and I think nime summarize vizuri.
Asante sana, umejaribu Kiswahili. I thought ulikuwa unaenda Kijerumani. That is perfectly okay. Okay, Dr. Trufena, please round it up for us. Thank you. Go ahead, Daktari.
Thank you so much. I will just echo what my brothers Steve and Martin have said. And actually to bold that this will be a Shark Tank moment for our African youth who are in technology, who are in farming, who are in hospitality, and all those businesses come and get investors who could come on your business. Go online, onevoiceconsortium.org, buy your ticket, register there. The ticket is $150. Please come. Washington, D.C. happens to be my hometown. The hotel is about 4 miles from my house. I can tell you it's magnificent, and we have prepared a wonderful weekend field program from Friday through Sunday. You will learn a lot, and you will not regret having come. So it's going to be a wonderful moment. We will eat managu, we will eat chinzaga that are coming from Every Thrive farm, because we grow all those here. And of course, we will have munyamambusi and, and the music and everything. So this is going to be a moment. If you have never been to an expo before, I would encourage you, go online, pay your $150 ticket, come and see. It will be a aha moment for you, and you will not be the same, because they're going to be a weekend packed of new ideas, people with money willing to invest. And actually, we have people who have expressed interest, like, for example, Mr. Mwala of Mwala City in Kakamega, where Martin comes from. He's expressed interest is coming. So we want to see, we want them to come, and so that we can partner together, move Africa to the next continent. We want to invest in Kenya, invest in Tanzania, invest in Rwanda, invest in Uganda, in Congo, and every part, and make Africa a first world, because that's all we're gonna do. Please mark your calendars, May 5th to 7th, nothing should be there. All roads leading to Washington, D.C., the most important city in the world. Thank you, engineer.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Daktari, for wrapping it up for us. I take this opportunity to thank you all for making yourself available to come and do this interview, give the perspective of the OVC One Voice Consortium Diaspora Expo May 2023. Asante sana Steve Kisandu, asante sana Martin, asante sana Daktari once again, na wakati mwingine tukiwahita, is that, did I speak real Swahili? Tukiwaita mukujeko. Sasa nimeharibu sasa.
Kulango kuku.
Mukujeko kuku khandi. Si namna hiyo?
Ndio hiyo.
Martin, ulikuwa unasemako nini Anyoli? Go ahead. Ulikuwa unasemako nini?
Nilikuwa nasema uongee na Kiluya labda itaingia vizuri.
Okay. Tuliongea kwa Kiluya. Next time tutaongea kwa Kiluya. Yeah. Next time. Thank you so much. Asanteni sana. Till next time, may God bless you. May God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay.